We're poised now with the Murray-Darling plan gone into hibernation before the government makes a decision. You guys have run a major roadshow. What's the feedback? What's the mood among producers?
Well, Mike, the mood is that the plan we've got in front of us now in terms of the draft plan is simply not good enough in terms of farmers and regional communities. So they want to see change, they want to see real change, they want to see something that delivers a lot less impact than what we're looking at right now in terms of those regional communities, and one that focuses more on infrastructure and trying to deliver water through water savings mechanisms than simply the only mechanism being buying back water.
Okay, so Minister Burke says there will be no compulsory buybacks, but that's not enough to placate people about who are concerned about what's going on.
No, look, it's not about that. It is about, we understand that when you buy back water, and we know that's part of the plan, the more you buy back, the greater impact it has regionally. You know, and so that's why we're saying let's move more of that into infrastructure, and you'll have a lesser impact, but B, you'll give those people the opportunity to start to generate income and not lose that income that you would if you just simply bought back water.
Thinking about the National Farmers Federation and water, it's obvious that the final decision belongs with the Commonwealth. Commonwealth needs to be seen to be consulting with the states. National Farmers Federation is a bit like a Commonwealth in its own way. So are there divisions among state farmer organisations in terms of the South Australians v the Victorians, for example?
Look, I don't think in terms of our broad church and our membership, you know, there are a few different ideas about the technicalities or intricacies of how you might get there. But in terms of the core principles, there's widespread agreement amongst our members that this plan is a bad plan. It requires change. We still want to have a basin plan, but one that better balances those social, economic and environmental needs.
So right now there's a lot of clamour going around the bush about the number of people who are coming in from overseas, buying up prime farmland and properties, growing fine produce and spiriting that produce back home and avoiding duties and taxes and levies to industry. What's the National Farmers Federation position on this whole challenge?
We've now got some idea about what's happening, but we don't have the full picture. So the first thing we require is full transparency. That requires a national register, and obviously all the states and whatever would feed into that. So we need to know where foreign investment is, what type, to what extent, and we need to know that annually. So the first thing we require is in and around that transparency. The second key issue for us is around the danger that's potentially posed by some sovereign entity, perhaps with a commercial shop front, coming in. So we're not aware that is sovereign money or sovereign ownership sitting behind that, tying up supply chain bottlenecks, right? And I guess in that sense, not acting as a true commercial player in the Australian market. So if they came in, like any other commercial entity, they employed people here, they entered into our markets, they used transport, all those sorts of things, then we don't have an issue. But if they don't behave like that, they tie up those supply chain bottlenecks and obviously send produce back to country of origin, that is a real concern.
That's an extraordinary scenario though, isn't it? I mean, for me that sounds a bit conspiratorial, that people would actually go to the trouble of bottlenecking Australian produce to give themselves some sort of market advantage. Is that a reality, do you think? Could it be a reality?
Look, there are no examples at the moment that we're aware of. We're simply putting that in front of the government, saying that is a concern for the future. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. You know, but obviously by tightening up these sorts of regulations and what have you now.
So Senator Heffernan and others have suggested foreign investors producing, for example, horticultural produce in Australia may not be seeking to pay their industry levies that go towards R&D and are part of what makes our food so good. Is this a concern for NFF?
Well, look, again, I'm not aware of that happening or any situation where where that is actually happening, again, we'd say to any foreign investor, firstly, foreign investment, we all understand, to date has been a largely positive experience for Australia. It's brought money into this country and capital that we otherwise would not have had. All we're asking for is transparency to understand where that foreign investment is and to its extent, and let's not have the sorts of situations we're talking about here. So, coming in, you need to pay your taxes and all your industry levies, so we'd just be saying those things need to be, and if there's evidence of that, let's have it and ensure that it doesn't happen again in the future.
So, final point on this matter, you mentioned earlier the threshold for investments to be referred to the Foreign Investment Review Board. What should the government be doing in respect to these some extremely large high threshold for America, for example?
Well, I mean, the American situation, some of those have been negotiated as part of either free trade agreements or otherwise. What we're seeing now is a threshold of around $240 million for farmland. So, most people would look at that and say there aren't too many farms around that cost $240 million. So, others have put some figures on it, perhaps where it should go to. The NFF, we have not gone down that track at this stage, but what we would say is this, that once we have the transparency, we understand exactly what's happening in terms of foreign investment in this country, that threshold ought to be reviewed annually as well. Let's not put an arbitrary figure on it now, because we're just not sure of the extent of foreign investment at this stage.